Hey guys, it's Corey with Fuller Security Solutions. We're an independent security consulting firm that helps organizations better protect their assets. And today we're going to talk about school shootings. After the recent Uvalde events, we've seen a lot of opinions based on how to prevent school shootings. Most of these opinions center around guns. On one side, they want to ban guns, and on the other side, they want to have more guns there, whether it be armed security, private security, to better protect the school. I see both of these positions as flawed because it only tackles part of the problem. In this video, we're going to discuss the best ways that we feel we can protect our schools through active prevention, and then we will go into the Uvalde case and break down how these preventative measures would have saved lives. So the reason I see the two main positions centered around guns as flawed is because, one, in cases such as Parkland and Uvalde, we've seen either police or armed personnel, private security, fail to eliminate the threat fast enough. Even if you have more patrols on the ground, which costs more money, more training, more liability for that school, there's no guarantee that they will actually be there when you need them. They can't be everywhere, and that's why we need to use other measures. The second measure would be to ban all guns. Well, there's millions of guns in the United States, probably more guns than we actually know exist. And if you ban guns today, there would still be mass shootings. So we need to focus on what we can actually prevent. We don't need to argue about political stuff. This is our kids that we need to worry about, and we need to worry about things that we can actually prevent. My grandmother used to say all the time, the Serenity Prayer. You need to focus on the things that you can fix and forget about the rest. So this is the stuff that we can fix. We need to focus on preventative measures to help our kids and protect our. So in the wake of these tragic shootings, what is the answer? Proper preparation and training is the answer. Gav Snyder, the great self-defense expert, says that we should focus mainly on prevention and avoidance when it comes to self-defense. For those of you familiar with the FEMA emergency management process, this is the prevention, mitigation, preparedness phases. Most active shooter training centers around response, and while response is important, we still need to focus on prevention. So if I look at my notes right here, the Apex Officer website says that 66.9% of all active shooter incidents end before police arrive. Of those, we know the duration is 69.8% ended in 5 minutes, with 36.5% ending within 2 minutes. According to the FBI response time, the median response is 3 minutes. So what does that tell us? There's 3 minutes before police arrive or before somebody armed responds to an event while the active shooter is going on. So those 3 minutes, those critical 3 minutes, we need to focus on access control measures to help save lives in those critical minutes. So what is the first preventative measure schools can take to prevent active shooter? Well, the first thing is a security assessment. If you want to go into our article, it goes into great detail on what this entails, but I'm just going to give you the highlights. So what a security assessment can do, it can check the access control procedures, it can check the policies and procedures that are in place to prevent active shooters, it can check the training, it can also check the alerting process for the schools. This will identify the vulnerabilities in the school and help us come up with a plan to prevent active shooters from happening and prevent an intruder from entering for 3 minutes, because that's really what I want to focus on, is getting 3 minutes to prevent them to enter the school so police can arrive. So after you've done a security assessment and you've identified all the vulnerabilities at the school, then you can look at a plan of action. Once that plan of action is made and you have steps to make better security in those schools, then you can worry about response training. I'm not going to go over response training here. If you want to look at how better response tactics could have saved lives in the Uvalde case, Mike Glover has a great video on that. We're not going to focus on tactics here. We're just going to focus on preventative measures. So now we're going to look at the Uvalde case and break down how preventative measures and contingencies could have saved lives in the Uvalde shooting. So at 11:30, the suspect was seen with a gun by one of the coaches. The coaches calls over the radio, and the principal receives that alert. The principal was the only one that received that alert, and she attempted to use the Raptor system that they had just in place, I believe in February of 2022, to alert the rest of the school. That failed due to Wi-Fi. So one of the things that would have been noted in a plan would have been a PACE plan. So your primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency communications. So all communications broke down here. So despite there being a known issue with the Raptor system and a lack of contingencies, the teachers failed to alert the rest of the school. An intercom system or various other methods for contingency communications could have helped lock down the school and alerted the teachers to initiate lockdown procedures. If we back up in the timeline a little bit, at 11:27, a teacher propped open one of the exterior doors to the school with a rock. So what this was identified as was a culture for leaving the exterior doors unlocked, which is unacceptable. If you look into the policies, they even had policies that one of the doors to the exterior were open at all times, which is, in my opinion, very negligent. But so that's another thing. So you need to look into the culture of your school and actually enforce the policies and procedures in place. So at 11:29, the same teacher that placed the rock to prop the door open saw the shooter and took the rock out and shut the door. She attempted to alert and lock down other teachers, but still there was not a streamlined communication process to alert all the teachers. So not all the individuals were informed that there was a shooter on the grounds. Not only that, but even when she shut the door was not locked. So that when the shooter entered finally, he was able to easily access the interior of the school. So at 11:33, the shooter easily walked into the school. And 30 seconds later, he walked into classroom 111, which had known issues that were reported that the lock on the door was operable, but it was difficult to lock. And therefore, it was not locked that day. If teachers were informed faster and or a work order fixed the lock, it could have saved the lives in those classrooms. Lastly, I want to go over some hardware issues with the school. So they had security cameras, but these security cameras were not actively monitored. They were used as evidence, and many of y'all saw the video after the fact that gave us the ability to go back and do a after action report on this shooting. But still, this is just a response measure. It's evidence. It's not preventative. If you want to prevent something, you need active monitoring that can alert people prior to a shooter getting to the school and accessing it so you can lock down quicker. Another thing is, the shooter, before he entered the school, he shot at classrooms through the exterior glass windows. These were safety glass. So I'm not saying that schools need bulletproof glass. It's very expensive, but film glass would have been better. He could have accessed easily through that glass by just shooting it. If film glass was in place, it wouldn't stop the bullets, but it would prevent him from getting inside the classroom if he chose to access it via the window. And film glass will help schools save on HVAC costs. We need to look at cost-saving things that we can do when looking at security measures with our schools, because we do not have an unlimited budget, unfortunately. So in conclusion, guys, I have a better article that outlines every little detail about this shooting on our website. We'll have a link in the description. But this should hit close to home, and we need to do a better job of protecting our schools and our children. These are measures that we can actually take. We don't have to rely on a police force. We don't have to rely on external private security. This is stuff that we can do now. This is stuff that parents can demand, a security assessment, and we can ensure that a plan is made to fix the vulnerabilities that we find in these assessments. So if you're a parent or just a concerned citizen, what you need to do is you need to go to your school and you need to demand for the current copy of a security assessment. You need to look at that assessment and make sure they're actively working towards increasing the security posture based off that security assessment. It's up to us to make sure our schools are accountable and our children are safe. In closing, I hope this helps. If you want more information, look at the article. And I think we need to get serious about active prevention when it comes to school shootings.